Commissioner, you have taken over a new portfolio in the European Commission. How would you summarize your new challenge in one sentence?
It's something which is extremely close to my heart, so I want to do my job in the best possible way.
You are responsible for environment. The Copenhagen conference is therefore very important for you. Many perceive the outcome of the Copenhagen conference as a failure. Now, what should the European Union do after the Copenhagen conference?
Copenhagen conference was clearly not a success. That one could say it was a failure. For me, more worrying would be only if they would probably agree of some binding targets which would not be ambitious, because that would actually remove some vehicle, some incentive out of the system where we want to go and what we want to reach. I think there are some clear conclusions or lessons which we can draw. We should not underestimate what happened in Copenhagen. I think at the end of the day, all the leaders, global leaders, met. It's also the fact that they politically committed to 2 degrees Celsius as a maximum increase of temperature. So this should be then coupled with the concrete activities which are still to come. For us, it is utmost important that we stay with our binding targets, that we do our part of the job at home, and also show clearly that we are ready to help developing countries. For us, it's also important that we learn that we really strengthen our voice. But I think it would be wrong to say that other nations or other leaders are doing nothing. For example, I was before Commissioner for Science and Research, and I'm very much aware how, for example, United States are investing in clean technologies, how much they have invested in last years, and they believe in these developments, in new eco-innovation and so on. But simply, they were obviously not ready for binding targets.
You were talking about European and global leaders. What would you expect from regional and local leaders that they do now after the Copenhagen conference?
Regional and local leaders are certainly playing its part in that story. They understand well the problems. On the other hand, they understand also well the differences which are between local communities and regions. And this understanding which they have, we desperately need, because we need it in various phases. When, for example, in the phase when we are proposing legislation, it's important that we hear, are there any concerns which we should take into account? In the phase where we are then adopting legislation and implementing legislation, I think it's extremely important that all the possibilities, funding possibilities also from European funds are used, that this is implemented on the regional level. And I think it's important that in all this cycle, regional leaders are present, and also in the preparation phase, for example, of legislation or whatever, that we get the information from the first hand. That's extremely valuable for us. When I was on the hearing in European Parliament at the beginning of the mandate, I actually said that I do not see subsidiarity as a kind of excuse for non-acting. I see subsidiarity as an engine of joining forces and delivering what we have jointly agreed. And I think that's the spirit in which we have to work.
Environmental policy is a horizontal field, a horizontal issue. All 27 commissioners are concerned by it. How will you ensure that they follow you in your political agenda?
I'm aware that many of my concerns could be done and dealt only with the help of my friends in the Commission. So many of the issues in the area of agriculture, fisheries, of course climate change. Then you have energy, industry, transport, structural policy. You can add, of course, research and development, I should not forget it, and health, and probably I can add somebody else. But all these issues are fundamentally crucial and the decisions which are taken there also for the influences on environment. At the same time, also the decisions in my area are, of course, very important for them. So I think that experience which I've got in the previous commission was that when we were working in a horizontal way, the results were the best. So typical example is energy and climate change package, where we were really working horizontally, and the paper, I think it's good, it's consistent. We came to some results which we are proud of, and we came also to the measures which are implementable and are in the implementation phase. And that's exactly what I think we should strive for also when we talk about the future environmental activities.
The European regions and cities have their own European institution, the Committee of the Regions. How do you see this institution, and how do you want to cooperate with the Committee of the Regions in the future?
Committee of the Regions, it's an extremely important layer in the decision-making process on the European Union level. I think that's obvious to everybody. So I do believe that the strength really lies in joining forces. The world has changed, and we are today much more interconnected, interrelated. Individual responsibility and collective responsibility is much different than it was decades ago. Mm-hmm. And we simply have to take that responsibility seriously. And if we want to deliver, we have to work together.
If we now look at the contents of environmental policy is a very broad field with a lot of EU legislation. In which particular field you would like to get an opinion of the Committee of the Regions?
One of interesting papers which it's in preparation, it's also of how they see their own role in cooperation with the future environmental priorities. I'm very much looking forward exactly to that paper because it's extremely important. I think we have to be proactive on both sides. So I would like to listen carefully to their ideas, and where we will feel that the voice of the committee is needed and necessary clearly, I think I will be certainly quite straightforward about that. But I do believe that we have many areas in which we can cooperate because in many cases they are the ones who are really implementing the things which we agree on the EU level.
The Committee of the Regions is a strong supporter of the Covenant of Mayors initiative launched by the European Commission. But the committee also thinks that this initiative should be opened for all subnational entities and authorities, not only for municipalities, but also for regions, for districts, and so on. Do you support this position?
I haven't yet seen in all the details how this would the best work in the future. Is that proposal of yours the best way to go ahead? But in essence, I'm very much positive of that type of approach.
One of the most important, if not the most important EU policy for regions and local authorities is the EU regional policy. The European Union has started a reform process for this policy. Now, you as the Commissioner responsible for environment, will you launch any initiatives so that environmental priorities are taken on board in the reform of regional policy?
I do believe that structural funds, cohesion policy, in essence, should take into account also environmental questions. Something like that, it's for me obviously needed, maybe not for the same purposes, but for the same direction also in the future cohesion policy.
As you know, the Committee of the Regions and the European Commission organize every year the Open Days, the European Week of Regions and Cities in October. This year's Open Days will focus on environmental issues, and we would like to hear from you as the Environment Commissioner, your message to the about 7,000 participants in this year's Open Days.
Yeah, I hope there will be nothing coming in between that I will be able to deliver that message myself.
Perfect. So we are looking forward to that message.
Thank you.
Thank you.